Is I wanted to talk to you, and you want to write some notes on this, about the idea of what does that term mean, statistically significant? What does that term mean, statistically significant? Does anybody know what that term means? Go ahead.
If something is statistically significant, that means that the difference isn't just by chance.
So the idea is the difference isn't just by chance. So let's maybe have an example. Let me give you a simple example of that situation at hand. Let's use a simple weather example if we can. So if you want to write this down, this might be good for you, especially if you want to go into data someday. But the idea is with statistical significance. Let's say that in the summertime, there was one day here in Stanton where it was 100 degrees. So write that down. One day where it was 100 degrees. And I'm trying to evaluate, this is very important to write down, did this happen due to chance? Or was this due to some other variable such as what?
Global warming.
Global warming, climate change. We could do the hurricane, but we don't want to do that. We'll just do the simple weather example here. What would you probably say? One day of 100 degrees in the summertime here in Stanton. Would you say that that's probably due to climate change or that could happen due to chance? You'd probably say that could happen due to chance. If you were to go back in the record history for your notes, you can write down that maybe 20% of the time every 5 years, so maybe 20% of the time we get one day of 100 degrees. So you would say 20% of the time this event could happen, God bless you, due to chance. So you would say this could happen 20% of the time due to chance. So you'd probably say, yeah, this was due to chance, and this result is not what? Statistically significant. Exactly the way. But let me give you a second scenario here. In the second scenario, let's say that during the summer, there were 30 straight days of 100 degrees. So write that down for your notes. 30 straight days of 100 degrees. Could that happen due to chance? It could. You could get that 30 straight days happening due to chance, but what is the likelihood of that occurring? If you go back, 200 years or 150 years, what is the likelihood that could happen due to chance? Maybe 1 out of 1,000, right? So if you were to write down what is the probability due to chance of having 30 straight days of 100 degrees, it might be 1 in 1,000. So if you want to write that down, that would be good. Maybe 1 in 1,000. So if you did actually have that be the case, and there were 30 straight days of above 100 degrees, and it could happen due to chance 1 out of every 1,000 years, what would you probably decide? If it was 30 straight days, would you say it was due to chance? No, you would say it's due to what?
Climate change.
Some variable causes. You could say climate change. So that is the idea of statistical significance. The idea of statistical significance is trying to figure out what is the probability that this event could happen due to chance. It's kind of weird logic. It's really weird logic here. And the idea is you figure out what is the probability that this event could happen to chance, and if the probability is less than 0.05, you decide it wasn't due to chance. Something else caused it. So we ran this experiment, right? And what probability did it tell us that this could happen due to chance?
0.0009.
This told us that this could happen due to chance 9 times out of less than one time out of 1,000. So what would we probably say here? That this result is statistically significant. So that's how we kind of come to the understanding of statistical significance. We look at the p-value. If the p is less than 0.05, then we try to say this result is statistically significant. What would be the real-world conclusion? What was my hypothesis?
That low frequency words take longer to say than high frequency words.
Low frequency words take longer to say than high frequency. So at the class we will have next time, what we'll do is we'll basically talk about how to write up a results section of this situation. It was just a simple cognitive experiment, and then I'm going to go into a little bit of the history of cognitive psychology. This class meets a research component though, so I'm going to have you actually write up a very simple little result section saying what was done, how it was done, and you'll basically get like, I think it'll be like a week from Friday to work on it and write it up. You can send me drafts, you can chat with your neighbors about it, and that's what we will do with the next class. Do you guys have any comments or questions for me at this point in time? Okay, so hopefully this makes sense to you in the face-to-face class. I am going to be recording this. I will not make this recording available to you. I'm only going to make that available to the online class. If you ever are going to miss a face-to-face class, what should you probably do? Well, you can email me and let me know that you will not be at class, but if you want to get the information, what should you do?
Ask for the recordings.
Well, either ask for the recording, or probably better is if you have a recording device or even an iPhone, just have somebody bring that iPhone in or give it to somebody else and just record the class. I will not necessarily make, I don't know, I think just for the online class, they have this, you guys have to be here. If you can't be here, have somebody else record the class and get that from them. That won't be my responsibility. The online class, they don't see me face to face, so they'll get the online recording of that situation. Any comments or questions?
What do you want us to do with these?
What I'd like to do is I will collect those cards. Let me turn